All right, guys, today's topic is setting expectations. There's 3 important times you want to set expectations with the seller throughout the sales process, at least for us, and we're going to jump right in the beginning.
For the most part, you're talking to a stranger, or maybe you're talking to someone you haven't spoken to a lot. So you want to make sure you let them know exactly what's going to happen in this call. For one, to filter out the ones that are complete duds, and second, to remove some of those fears that a lot of people on the phone have. And one of those fears is, right, is like, how long is this going to take? Who are you? What can you do for me? Right? So you can answer those 3 questions in like a 30-second statement. But before Jagger delivers that to you, make sure you guys like and subscribe.
So the way to set expectations with the seller is, we're going to role play that for you right now. Hey, Ronnie, just wanted to see if you had 5 minutes on you where we could talk a little bit about your property to see if you're even interested in selling the place.
Boom. So like you asked right away if you have 5 minutes, right? Now they're no longer thinking like, oh, this guy's going to keep me here for like 30 minutes. Jagger's saying, this is what I can solve for you if you have this problem. I want to see if you have any interest in selling because we're looking to buy more properties, right? Right off the bat, guys, let them know what you're here to do and let them filter themselves out. Hey, Jagger, I actually sold my house last month. Boom. Thank you so much for not wasting my time. On to the next one.
Or, hey, I'm never going to be interested in selling. Thank you for letting me know. On to the next one. We want to work not the extreme people who are extremely not interested in selling. We want to work the people who are extremely motivated. And then there's the in-betweens, right? You're going to talk to a lot of in-betweens, but the only way to start delivering your, sales process and pitch to people is giving them the understanding of what this call is going to be about. Because no one's going to give you the time of day if you just jump into it because of those roadblocks that most people in society have against salespeople. It's not we're telling you this because we want to make you scared. It's a reality you need to understand. It's not a secret. When someone knocks on your door and they're selling something, you're going to slam the door in their face. What do they want? Why are they here? How long is this going to take? And most importantly, with a star, how is this going to benefit me? This isn't about the salesperson. It's how are you going to benefit the person on the other end? I know I went a little off tangent there, but I feel like it's super important. All right, so now we're going to jump into, that's in the beginning of the call. You set the expectation like we just spoke about. Now, that's not it. You're not done. Anytime you get back on the phone with the seller, you want to reset the expectation of what is going on. In the beginning of the call, it's to see if they're interested. Now, after you see if they're interested, you get their temp. Watch the video if you don't know what that is. You figure out why they're selling, all that good stuff. Now, if we feel like we're going to take over, now you're setting that next expectations for photos and an appointment.
Yeah, and to talk more about that, so guys, let's say you started the call, you set the expectations on the front end, let them know if they have a couple of minutes, blah, 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 and now you're about to deliver the next set of expectations. And that is, in order for example, for me and Jagger to see if we can actually buy their house, there's 2 steps we can take. One is we actually physically go take a look at the property, or 2, we ask for photos. Right. So the way we normally set that up is something like, hey, Jagger, thanks for all the information you gave me on the property. Definitely gave me a nice vivid vision on like what it is what I'm working with. Now, in order for me to take the next step, which is giving you an offer and seeing if we can make this happen for you, 2 things need to happen. Either I need to go see it and confirm everything you told me is correct, or you can actually just send me photos. And what I'll do is if you send me photos, I'll go to my project manager, sit down with him, review the photos and the condition of the property, and then I'll call you back an hour after you send the photos to see if we can come in at that number you were looking for.
Boom. So guys, you see what he did there? He started with what's going to happen if we can get you an offer, right? Because the whole goal is to get them an offer. You have to understand, you have to get to people's goals for them to realize why you're doing this. So your goal is to get you an offer. I'm going to get you one, but this is what we got to do first. Is that okay? So then he jumped into, we'll either do photos or walk through to see it in person. So now it gives people's options, right? You want to always give somebody options on what they can do for you. So now you didn't just say, hey, we have to see it. So now you're losing those people who don't want to meet you. So then you do photos. You give an option to whatever works best for the seller in the situation, right? You see how we're on this path of what's best for the seller, what's best for everybody else, because we want to make sure we're making them feel like they won.
Yep.
So that now, after he does that, he says, this is what's going to happen after you send the photos. So now there's no, what the heck is this for? Right? He solved that. You send these photos, I'm going to sit with my PM, he's going to look at them, and then we're going to try to get you an offer. Is that okay? See what he did there? He got permission, set the expectations, and told them what was next. Now, if they have a problem with it, they're probably just not ready to sell, like most people, and that's okay.
Yep.
But the people that do this or want to take that next step have some type of motivation or level of, hey, I want to at least hear an offer on the property. So that's super important. That's probably the most important expectation you set, because without this, you're never going to get a deal. Because if you just rush through this part and you say, hey, I can give you an offer, and you're not exact, you're not on point, you're not giving them the understanding of how this is going to work. Most people haven't bought and sold homes, right? So you got to explain this very, very seamlessly, or they're just going to go somewhere else.
Yep. And the other thing too is that it shows that this is what you do, right? For everything you ask for, there's a reason, and you can very easily explain it. And what this allows you to do is that it shows in terms of power dynamic, right? You shift the power dynamic to I'm the guy. Like, this is what I do, and I buy a lot of houses, and I do it this way, right? Think about when you guys like buy a phone, right? You don't question how much this bill costs, right? You know that like all these companies are going to add on like extra like whatever assessment fee and all that. But because they have a role played answer for all your concerns, you just kind of be like, it sounds legit.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're confident. No, that's a great point.
Right?
And guys, you see what we're doing here? We're not setting the expectation for the entire process up front. That's going to overwhelm somebody.
Yeah.
You got to do it at the time of where they're at. You want to see if they're interested in selling. You can't talk about setting up photos in an appointment. There's no legitimacy. There's no trust. There's no rapport that was built. So that's why you set the expectations in 3 steps. The first step is in the beginning. The second step is when they're ready for an appointment or photos. Then now the VIP step is if now you got the appointment, you put in an offer, you know what's going to happen. Before we make them sign anything, we now set up the close. This is the third expectation.
Yes.
And the way to set up the close is that you want to make sure, hey, we found a number that works for you. You got the temp. Everything's on the same page. Now, if we did move forward, this is what's going to happen next. If we decided that we could buy the house at $300,000, as I said with my project manager, I think we could. Are you 100% ready to do this? Get their commitment. Now, this is what's going to happen. We're going to go over a 1-page agreement. We're going to see if everybody understands the language of it. And if we're both on board with the terms and the price and the agreement makes sense, we're going to sign it. And then now we start our due diligence or whatever that next step is to get to closing.
Boom, guys. Once again, right? It's all about power dynamic, right? You're showing them this is what you do. And every time, this is how we set the expectation for the close, right? We're going to look over the agreement. If we're all on the same page and we agree to price and terms, we're going to sign it. What that allows us to do now is move this over to the title company. Now the title company can start their title search. Do you know what that is? No, now you can start educating them, right? Once again, it goes right back to the power dynamic. Now you're like, hey, my transaction coordinator, whether it's you or someone else, they're going to start doing the due diligence that we agreed on in terms of contingencies, whether that's an oil tank sweep, a termite, whatever contingency you guys have in your state or whatever you want to do. That's when you start. But you set that expectation of these are the next steps. After all these things are completed, we will then have a closing date, which we already agreed on is 30 days from now. So our goal is to work together to get all this done to get you to that closing date. Does that make sense?
Now, once they say yes, you do it again, make sure they're on board, and then you move forward. You see at every point of the process, we reset the expectations with the seller. It's because this is all foreign for most people, right? We know it, we get it. But once you try to rush through this process, it's going to implode.
Yep.
You always want to take
Every
your
time.
time. We have terms like take a step back, make sure you understand the expectations and you have the decision makers, all of that, right? But most importantly, without setting the expectations throughout the process, you're never going to get a deal. So that's why we really wanted to break this down for you. And if any of this content was helpful, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.